We're going to make some saffron rice. I'm going to use 1 vial of the threads, pecorino romano cheese, shallots, celery, carrot, pepper, tomato, garlic, tumeric, the rice, rack of veal, boneless, salmon filet, escargot, and boneless chicken thigh, and butter and olive oil. And I could have made a stock, but instead of making a stock, I'm using the ingredients that would be used in the stock to go into the rice, which is the celery, carrot, shallots, and garlic, and pepper. There's my vegetable type stock. That's going to give it flavor. And the meats, they're going to be poached a little bit. That'll be some more stock, and the salmon. So we're going to have plenty of good stock to cook this. And it may seem like a lot, but all of that's going to shrink. The meat, the fish, the chicken is going to shrink. The snails won't. And the rice is going to expand. So let's see if I did this correctly with the ratio for meats, fish, to the amount of rice. And it's only going to have a little cream at the very end. White wine will be going in there also. Dry white wine. This is going to be the pot that everything's going to be cooked in. So whatever is sauteed in there, the flavors will stay in there and then come out into the rice. First thing I'm going to do is cook the chicken just about all the way, and take my salt and pepper mix, put a little salt and pepper on the chicken. Remember, everything that goes into a recipe has to be seasoned, especially when it's something like this. And I put the butter and the oil in there together because I don't want this to, the butter would most likely darken too much, which I don't want, but I want the butter flavor on everything. So we put olive oil, put some extra virgin in there. Some people say don't use extra virgin, use regular olive oil. It's my preference. It loses its strength. Should be put in at the end. Yeah, and pasta. Okay, so we're going to cook that almost all the way. Not too high a flame because the butter could possibly burn. And then we're going to get the veal ready. We're going to take the chicken out, put the veal in, then take the veal out. Put the liquid we're going to use, poach off the salmon, and then fold the salmon in at the very end so it doesn't break up. So we'll cook this. I'm not going to waste film on you watching me cook it. Just cook it for about, okay, you know what? I'll set the timer. We'll say 6 minutes. And that's how long I'm going to cook the chicken for the first time. Now, one important thing you want to do with the saffron is take a small portion of the shallots, put that right there, and mince this up together. By doing this, of course, you're breaking up the threads, so you're going to release more flavor later. So you just chop that very, very fine. Well, it's been the end of the 6 minutes, and that was good timing on my part. So we'll just take the chicken out, and we'll put it back in when we cook the rice. The next item that's going to go in there is the veal, and the veal is only going to take a minute. Why? Because this is not tough veal. This is veal, boneless veal from a veal chop. We raise the flame and do this very quickly. And also add a little salt and pepper to this. Because this is very tender veal. And the longer you cook it, the tougher it gets. So this is going to go into the risotto about a minute before it's being served. And I'm going to explain something to you about risotto. Everybody knows you're supposed to make it and serve it. But guess what? What happens when you're a professional and you're in a kitchen and you're working alone and you have a party of 100 people to put out a buffet, and one of the items of the 12 chafing dishes happens to be risotto, and you're alone, and what do you do? Well, it's very simple. You cook the risotto 3/4 of the way early on, because nobody who's alone in the kitchen has the time to spend on the pot of risotto and do it from scratch when it's time to put everything else together. Now you can also do this in your home. All you do is cook the risotto a few hours before you need it. Let's say you're having a little dinner party, one of the items is the risotto. You too, most likely, can't handle more than 4 or 5 things, the normal homeowner. So you would cook it 2/3 of the way, 3/4 of the way, and then later when you heat it up and you finish it, it only takes maybe 10 minutes, at the most 15. And that is enough while I cook the veal, explaining that to you. And if there are professionals out there that disagree with me, all that means is that they've never had to cook a buffet for 100 people alone. If you have somebody else in the kitchen that can just stand over a pot of risotto in these very fine kitchens, well and good. But that's not the case all over this country. Okay, we're going to shut the flame off right now so we don't get any more color. And we're going to add water to this, and then we're going to poach off the salmon. Let me retract what I said. You know what? I'm not going to poach off the salmon. I'm going to get a better flavor out of it if I finish it in here right now. Because these salmon, I cut them in little cubes, as you see. I put them in here. How long is this going to take to almost fully cook? About a minute and a half. And then we'll take this, and it shouldn't fall apart. And we'll put this in towards the end of the risotto, maybe a minute and a half, just before we add the veal. Because you'd like to have this just cooked and not overcooked. And if you notice, it's not falling apart. And I'll get a plate for that. A little bit of salt and pepper on there. This is going to be good, this dish. Then next, I will add the vegetables, sweat them up a little. And that is just about enough. Because once this salmon hits the very hot risotto, it'll finish up. And we don't want it to be dry. We'd like to see this still moist a little bit, and it will be later. Lower the flame. We're going to sweat up the vegetables a little bit. Just to show you, you can see the saffron minced with the shallots. See the change in the color? Sure, you're going to get more flavor out of the saffron that way. And believe me, professionals know that method. It's nothing new. So we'll put the vegetables in here, sweat them up. Not looking for color. because the risotto is going to be white, creamy looking. And the tomato I'm putting in there because, well, actually everything that's going in there. I look at what the item is and how it's going to help the dish. And it can only help the dish as far as the flavor goes. This is going to shrink up quite a bit. In a couple of minutes from now, I'm going to add the rice. Just going to put a little salt and pepper now. And I'm going to stay with this after the risotto is added and a little bit of the liquid. I'm going to measure off a quart of water, or if you wanted to use a chicken stock or a seafood stock, that's well and good. But I'm doing it this way for me to know if, with all these ingredients, I'm going to get a nice flavor. And I'm guessing yes. Raise the flame just a little bit. I'll shut the film off for another, I'm going to run that for another minute, and then I'm going to add the rest of the ingredients. I'm going to throw the tumeric in there. And now I'm going to get the other items. The rice. Risotto rice, whether it's Aborio or another brand. It's a possibility that I'm not going to have enough rice here, even though I used Bolino. I have more rice. I have plenty of rice. I'm just taking a guess that the amount of rice is correct for all of the ingredients. And if I'm wrong, there's nothing I can do about it at this point except cook a little separate and add it to it. But the recipe will show the correct amount. Now we're going to add the white wine, dry white wine. And we're starting off with, as I said, the liquid will be I'm starting off with a quart of whatever liquid you want, whether it's stock or water. So we'll let this cook a little bit like this. A lot of moisture in there, so I don't have to add anything really yet. But I will in about another minute. Now, no sense in wasting all this time. So what we're going to do here is this. We keep the moisture about like so. And once that moisture, the liquid reduces, and you know that you have to add more, then you will add a little bit more. And keep going like so. You don't have to constantly stand over this and stir it, but you have to be fairly close. You know, every minute or so I will be in there moving it around, and I'll lower the flame a little. We don't want rapid boiling, and this will slowly cook all by itself. So a couple of minutes have gone by, and as you see, the moisture's gone down. We'll just add a little bit more water or stock. Now, after a few more minutes, after I add the chicken and cook it for another minute and the snail, then I'm going to shut it off. And that would be the point. You would shut it off because you would finish cooking it later on, as I mentioned earlier. And also, when you're cooking risotto or anything else that's like a little bit starchy and that can stick, make sure you don't use one of those tinny type pots. This is an aluminum pot, thick. Nothing really sticks to this. And that's how it's cooking, nice and easy. And we can add a little bit more liquid. So I add a little bit more liquid, and I'm going to put the chicken in there and the snails. This is a dinner for two. And at the very end, when we add the cheese, I'll add some fresh chopped parsley and some sliced scallions. I don't want to forget the cheese, so I better bring it over here. So this is cooking, and in a few minutes we'll make believe you just shut it off and leave it, because the rice is not cooked, and then you could finish it up later. Well, we're getting close to this being finished, and the aroma of the saffron is nice and strong. And I'm going to add the cream. I'm using half and half. You could use heavy cream. That's just shy a cup. And I use the 1 quart of stock or water. So you taste the grains just to see how firm they are. Just about there, which is good because you won't have to add any more liquid, and this worked out well. Now, if you're going to serve this, let's say you're going to serve it in about an hour. So I will put another pan of water on the stove, sit this one inside, and just keep it warm. Because it's very difficult to just keep this warm with a direct flame under it. Now that the rice is cooked, not mushy, we'll add the cheese, pecorino romano, and then I'm going to give it a little mix here. And add the veal. Mix this up well. Let that veal get nice and hot. And while that's getting hot, put in the scallions and the parsley. And after another minute, and the last item now that's going in there is the salmon. And in one more minute, we will be eating this. There. See the salmon, the pieces are still whole. They're not going to break apart. Make sure you use like a flat paddle like this when you're working with this. If you use a spoon, quite often the edges of the spoon will cut into items. With a flat paddle, you won't have that problem. And there we are done. Now let's put this on a plate and take a good look at it.
Wow, you really are ready.
And there you go. There's the finished plate.